No team was in the headlines more this past week than the Philadelphia Eagles. Quarterback Jalen Hurts, wide receiver A.J. Brown. Are they friends anymore? Who knows at this point? All we know is that Jalen Hurts came out, went 25 of 32, 290 yards, 2 passing touchdowns, a rushing touchdown as the Eagles housed the Pittsburgh Steelers 27-13. Finished that game with one of the best drives in NFL history. Held the ball for over 10 minutes to run the clock out at the end. Are we buying this turnaround from the passing game in Philly, Matt?
I think yes. To me, they just, it's been weird because they've run the football so well and they've played such good defense that they just really haven't had a game like that where they came out and were committed to throwing the football like they did yesterday in what seems like a month or two, right? And so I think given the guys are healthy, AJ, played really well. Devontae Smith out there is huge for them. I do buy it because I think they're going to be thrown against favorable passing looks because their run game is so dynamic. And I think they're built in such a way that you just have to be like middle of the pack in terms of passing in what you can do given what the rest of your team is. And that's fine. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, right? Like I think they're built to beat you running the football playing defense. But if you're just going to load it up and put one-on-ones, which I think Jalen Hurts did a great job of yesterday, kind of recognizing one-on-ones and taking advantage of that, I think it is good enough. And I think given what the Lions are doing and all the injuries that they have on defense, or maybe some of the question marks we have of some of these other NFC teams, I'd like to think they're in the driver's seat right now. And I think the passing game, if it's like it was yesterday, I think is clearly good enough given the rest of what their football team is.
Yeah, Matt, as you and I both know, and Mike does as well, if you can run the football, there's no reason that you should get away from running the football because it's not like you get style points in the National Football League for wins. And when you got Saquon Barkley, you've got this offensive line, you have an identity, and teams search far and wide for an identity and a culture. And for offensive linemen, this is like watching your favorite movie every week. You get an opportunity to watch Saquon Barkley run the ball behind that group. Questions arise in the media about A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts, and all of a sudden they want to flex their passing muscles. Well, we know Jalen Hurts can do it. We know he can throw the football, but we haven't seen them rely upon the passing game. It just shows they have more teeth than just the running game in that offensive huddle. And I think that the luxury that the Philadelphia Eagles have is, to your point, you look for the matchup, and we'll take advantage of the matchup because we got guys on both sides of the football field who can be legitimate threats for the secondary against these groups.
I have a take that I want your guys' opinion on. It may be a little counterintuitive, but there was no Dallas Goedert. Obviously, he went on IR before a couple weeks ago. But I think that him being out might actually be beneficial to this passing game because it basically takes Jalen Hurts' eyes off the middle of the football field, where he doesn't want to throw anyways. He's never been a good thrower purely over the middle of the football field. He likes to attack outside the numbers. And in this game, 23 targets to Devontae Adams, A.J. Brown. 23 of his 32. He's basically just looking at those two guys now, just looking at the outside, the numbers sort of routes. And the Steelers made it a little bit easy on them, in my opinion, and giving them one-on-ones a good portion of the time. But I think that's actually beneficial because those guys, if one of them has a one-on-one, one of them's winning, right? Like, you don't have to have a third option in this offense when you have those two.
Well, I'm never a big believer in taking good football players off the field and being better as a result. I want options out there, man, just in case, just in case that one time you need it down the middle, you got your guy. But I understand what you're saying. It's like there's only one football, right? Yes. And this is the issue with the Eagles offense. There's only one ball. And Saquon Barkley is going to be the guy who touches it the most. And he should be. He's incredibly dynamic. Whether that's running the football, whether it's getting it out of your hand to him in the passing game, he's the focal point of what you're doing. And so when you have two guys on the outside like they do that are true outside receivers too and play to what Jalen does best, I understand what you're saying. I think that can be, you can do that through play calling too, right? Like even so when Goddard is there, you can tailor that through play calling to run your offense that way. But I agree with you. I think they're best when they're running the football, throwing the ball to Saquon Barkley, and then taking advantage of the outside parts of the field.
Matt, when we get these play calls in the huddle, it could be ride 35, Bob, kill. We're going to run, 39 or 38. So it's either a left run or a right run, depending on whether they line up in a three or a shade on the left side. And it makes it really simple. And for a stupid guy like myself, keeping it simple is great. So I feel like, to Mike's point, it allows Jalen to have that simplicity of saying, what's the look on the left side? What's the look on the right side? Okay, we're going to roll because I have faith in my guys. And that's what they have. They have dudes on the offensive side of the ball, on the defensive side of the ball. And when you're inundated with all these options, sometimes your paralysis by analysis kicks in. And I feel like this is a group where you can't allow that to happen because they're so damn talented. Let's run it. Let's dare them to stop us.
I've said this always, and I would say to the players that I played with all the time, like, I don't care what you know. I don't care how smart you are. I don't care that you can answer the questions correctly in the meeting room. I care what you do, right? And so you don't have to make it all that complicated. When you got really good players, let them go play. And I think the Eagles have done a really good job of that. They did a great job of that Sunday. I think they've done a good job of that the entire year, right? They won 10 ball games in a row. You're doing a lot of really good things, and you're doing it running the football. Keep it simple.
Someone who
I have a
hasn't been
gripe.
doing it.
I have a gripe, Mike. I have a real bad gripe about this. I want to bring it up with the quarterback here. Okay, Saquon Barkley, 14 rush, or Jalen Hurts, 14 rushing touchdowns on the season. You know how many times this guy Saquon Barkley's taken the ball and he could sniff the end zone, and then they just let Jalen Hurts go in? I don't know. As an O-lineman, I love touchdowns, but at the end of the day, this running back Saquon Barkley, he gets you down there into that prime oceanfront real estate. Let's let him jump in the ocean every once in a while, guys. You know what I'm saying?
An O-line talking about stat chasing? I thought I'd seen it all.
So my rookie year, we had a running back, Michael Turner. Awesome player, right? Unbelievable player. But in 2008, he had this ridiculous number of touchdowns that he scored. And we must have had 10 or 12 passes caught, tackled at the one. And so we used to watch, like, as a team, Mike Smith would have all these cut-ups of these plays, good and bad or whatever. And so every time he'd show one where one of our receivers caught it at the one, Mike T would be sitting in the corner of the meeting room just like, thank you. And then he would score on the next play, man. He had a bunch of those touchdowns. It's just how it goes sometimes.
Dude had an elite running back physique. He was just filled out that jersey. I mean, he was built in the lab to play goal line running back. All right, let's move from a quarterback who had a great day to one who had, well, maybe one of the worst days you'll ever see. Will Levis, 8 of 12, 89 passing yards, 3 picks, and a fumble before he was unceremoniously benched for the Tennessee Titans while facing, mind you, one of the worst defenses in the NFL in the Cincinnati Bengals. After, I feel like, a tumultuous month or so where he had a shoulder injury, but then he played well, but then he didn't really play well, and the bottom really fell out this week. Is the Will Levis experiment officially done in Tennessee, Matt?
I mean, it's hard to come back from. I know the shoulder injury was there, but it wasn't. I mean, I don't know if it was clear that they weren't going to make a move at that time anyhow, right, to Mason Rudolph. And then, for a second time to be going back to the bench. I think it's probably, in the coach's mind, in Brian Callahan's mind, in the GM's mind, I think they're looking for something different. And it's been the turnovers, right? I mean, this has been the story that just doesn't go away for Will Levis, is an inability to take care of the football. And eventually, that's the number one metric for wins and losses, right? The number one stat that affects everything is turnover margin. And when you're not taking care of it, and in the way that they're doing it too, right? Like it's sometimes it's not just the turnovers, it's like how they come up. To me, I think they're moving on. I think they're moving in a different direction moving forward.
I will say it's his inability to not avoid sacks. That's the thing that's just like, I don't think you ever fixed that. He's so bad at it. And yeah, the offensive line's not good, but he's taking a sack once every 8.5 dropbacks this season. That's just untenable. That's higher than Caleb Williams, who leads the league in sacks, highest rate in the NFL. You compare that to someone like Josh Allen, who takes one every 40 dropbacks. So like one, not even every game at the rate he's been playing. And it's like they're playing a different sport. You just can't run an effective offense when that's going to be the case.
I'll say this. I think of quarterbacks, right, that have been drafted in the last handful of years, and I think everyone is looking for kind of one of three molds, right? They're looking for a Patrick Mahomes type, which would be the Caleb Williams draft pick in Chicago. They're looking for the Lamar Jackson type, which might be the Jaden Daniels pick in Washington, or they're looking for that Josh Allen mold, right? And I think Will Levis fits into that bigger, stronger, good runner, all of this. Mm-hmm. But make no mistake about it, Josh Allen is a passer, right? Like, he is a passer of the football that can do all of these other things. It's still a league that is about passing and layering the football and throwing with touch and throwing with timing and feel, throwing different pitches, right? It's not fastball, late, run. You've got to be a passer to be able to do these things. And all the rest of the stuff on top of that is what's going to separate you and make you an X factor like Josh Allen. But it starts with being able to throw the football. And I think that sometimes is missed when we evaluate quarterbacks.
Yeah, Levis, I mean, he has never thrown with touch, even dating back to his career at Kentucky.